Chapter 48, Sri Sai Satcharita. This chapter describes the story of Shevade and Sapatnekar. They were colleagues studying jurisprudence. Once, when a group of them were discussing the subject and answering questions, when they realized that Shevade was the least prepared for the examination. So they asked him about it, but confidently he replied that he would definitely pass, as his Sadguru Sri Sai Baba had said so. Sapatnekar was curious about this, so he spoke to Shevade confidentially about Baba. Shevade said, Baba is a unique Satpurush. There are many spiritual gurus, but Baba is God Almighty Himself, and whatever He says can never ever be false. Hearing this, his colleagues, including Sapatnekar, laughed and mocked Baba. When the results of the examination were declared, both Sapatnekar and Shevade had passed. 10 years later, Sapatnekar was devastated when his only son passed away following a throat infection. He made numerous pilgrimages and read various spiritual scriptures, but he was restless as ever. It was then that he remembered Shevade's words about Baba's divinity and decided to go to Shirdi with his younger brother Pundalik Rao. However, when he went forward to have darshan, Baba said, "Chal hat," or get away. He tried again with Bala Shimpi and again with the same result. Then Baba asked him to leave, so he had to obey and return home. A year later, his wife dreamt of Baba. In the dream, she was going to fill her pitcher with water from the Ladaksa well. There she saw Baba seated under a neem tree close by. When he said, "Lassie, why get exhausted for nothing? I will fill your pitcher with pure water." She got frightened and hurried home with an empty pitcher. The next morning she narrated her dream. Her husband seized the opportunity and they both made the pilgrimage to Shirdi. When she reverentially prostrated at Baba's feet, Baba narrated all about her aches and pains, and at that very moment they vanished. But when he came forward, he was greeted by the same Challahat. But Sapatnekar had truly repented and was devoted. So he met Baba in solitude and begged Baba to forgive him. Then he laid his head on Baba's feet and Baba blessed him. Then a shepherdess came there and Baba narrated his entire life story in detail, including the loss of his only son. Then Baba said, "This fellow thinks I killed his son. Do I kill people's children? Now I will bring that very child in his wife's womb." The next day they were to return home, so Sapatnekar gave Baba dakshina and Baba blessed him. Baba gave him a coconut to be placed in the oti of his wife's sari, and within a year they had their first son, Murlidhar, and subsequently 2 other boys were born to them. The Sapatnekars remained forever faithful and devoted to Baba. Now I'll narrate the Leela that is given in the Sri Sai Leela magazine as narrated by Parvati Sapatnekar. Mahadev Vaman Sapatnekar and the removal of doubts. It was at the insistence of his father that Mahadev Vaman Sapatnekar, an attorney and a resident of Akkalkot, first visited Shirdi in 1913. At that point, Sapatnekar was disillusioned and troubled by the turn of events in his life. He was a 33-year-old widower and had lost his wife and son to diphtheria. He blamed God for his loss. Then he married Parvatibai, a young girl who was just 13 years old. But even after 4 years of marriage, his wife was unable to conceive. Also, his wife suffered from terrible pain in her abdomen and trunk. Mahadev's father, Vaman Sapatnekar, insisted that he go to Shirdi and seek Baba's blessings. Vaman had heard a glowing account of Baba's divinity from Shevade, who was Mahadev's friend and classmate. In chapter 48 of the Sri Sai Satcharita, Shevade's story is beautifully described. Shevade, a strong devotee of Sai Baba, was quite unprepared for the forthcoming examination, but was confident that he would pass, as Baba had assured him of success. In the bygone days, a son never questioned his father, but implicitly followed his orders. Therefore, although Mahadev lacked faith in Baba, he did as his father advised, and along with his younger brother Pundalik Rao, set out for Shirdi. Upon reaching Shirdi, they went to the Dwarka Mai to pay obeisance to Baba. But when Mahadev bent to touch Baba's feet, he roared, "Chal hat!" and shoved him with such force that his turban flew out of the sanctum sanctorum. Mahadev stayed in Shirdi for 3 days, and whenever he tried to meet Baba, he received the same Chal hat treatment. Mahadev felt humiliated and hurt and returned home in a gloomy frame of mind. Parvatibai has recounted those days when her husband went to Shirdi. I had a keen desire to accompany him. In those days, a wife was subservient and couldn't speak to her husband openly. So I was left with my in-laws at Madgaon. That night, while I was sleeping, besides my sister-in-law, I had a dream wherein I saw a bright flash of light. At that moment, I remembered that there was not a drop of water in the house. So I took a pitcher and went to the nearby well. The well was called Lakardasa Well. I was in a great hurry as the daughter-in-law was not supposed to go out of the house alone. I needed to fetch the water and returned before my father-in-law returned from court. There I saw a fakir standing next to the well. He approached me and said, "My dear girl, why get exhausted needlessly? I shall get your pitcher filled with pure water." I was scared, so as I suspected the fakir had some bad intention. I was petrified and ran home as fast as I could. However, he ran after me, saying, "Lassie, don't run away. I have come to give you something." On reaching home, I closed the door securely, but the fakir came to the door and threw small pebbles through the slits in the door. "Lassie, I have come to give you something," the fakir repeatedly said. I was about to shout when I got up sweating profusely with fright. When I realized that it was just a dream, I woke my sister-in-law and asked her what the time was. However, she jokingly said, "Aren't you able to sleep? Aha, your husband has gone to Shirdi and you must be dreaming of him." The next morning, I narrated the dream to my mother-in-law. My father-in-law overheard it and inquired about it in great detail. He sternly told my husband to go to Shirdi and take me with him, as there was some divine message hidden in the dream. My husband was reluctant to revisit Shirdi and get insulted again. But my father-in-law insisted that we go, taking with me his elder brother's wife who didn't have a son till then. Hence we went to Shirdi. Baba was returning from Lendi Bagh at that time. I was stunned, as he was the same fakir I had seen in my dreams. Then, looking at me, he started yelling, "Oh, dear mother, my abdomen and trunk are aching terribly." I was baffled and concerned and wanted to know what was wrong with him. The devotees explained that Baba often acted like this and relieved the devotees of their maladies by taking it upon himself. I, however, couldn't stop giggling at his perfect play acting of my symptoms. 2 months later, the nagging pain in my abdomen and trunk disappeared, and I was filled with gratitude for Baba. Later in the day, we went to have darshan in Dwarkamai. My husband went forward with flowers and fruits. Again, Baba said, "Chal hat." When my turn came, however, Baba allowed me to place my head on his feet, and he made me sit near him. He placed his palm in a container of udhi, and with a little force placed the palm on my forehead and blessed me. He said, "Take 1, 2, 3 or 4. How many do you want?" This was in regard to my barren state. Later, I had 8 sons and 1 daughter, and Baba fulfilled his promise. My husband was filled with remorse and repentance for having doubted Baba when Shevade spoke about Baba's benevolence. He decided to stay on at Shirdi until Baba forgave and blessed him. Once he saw Baba seated alone in the Dwarkamai, so he ran up and clasped his feet, beseeching forgiveness. Baba placed his hand on his head and made him sit close by. Meanwhile, a shepherdess came there and started massaging Baba's feet. Looking at Sapatnekar, Baba said, "This gentleman thinks I killed his son. Do I kill people's sons? Now I shall bring a son in his wife's womb." Filled with joy, my husband again fell at Baba's feet with tears gushing down his cheeks. He ran to where we were staying and excitedly narrated what happened. He asked me to make Puran Polis as an offering to Baba. However, I had already prepared Shira as Bapu Sahib Jog had suggested. Then both of us went for Aarti and I handed my platter of Shira to Jog. He kept it in the rear of the plates brought by various devotees. After the Aarti, Baba was given a plate filled with the offerings, but Baba pushed it aside and leaned over and pulled my platter towards him. With great relish, he ate a handful of Shira from my plate. The next day was Thursday, and we saw the Chavadi procession. Parvati narrates unusual information about the Chavadi procession. She recalls, Baba never sat in the palki. If devotees lifted him and put him inside the palki, he disappeared and was seen walking at the back of the palki. Baba often broke into a dance with great agility. He put one foot forward, then the other foot, and danced in abandon. He rhythmically moved to the clash of the cymbals, his little body swaying like a reed. It was a sight that Lord Indra would have envied. Baba's face shone with brilliant glow, like Lord Vithala. The Sapatnekars were to leave Shirdi the next day. Before leaving, they went to seek Baba's permission. Mahadev told his wife, "I shall offer 1 rupee as dakshina to Baba. If he asks again, I will happily give him 1 more rupee. But if he asks for more money, I will have to sell my gold ring and your bangles." To Mahadev's great surprise, Baba only asked for 2 rupees and repeated the exact same words that Sapatnekar had said to his wife in the room. Hearing this, the doubts that were still lurking in his mind disappeared, and he was convinced about Baba's sanctity and omnipresence. Thus, Mahadev Sapatnekar became an ardent devotee of Baba. This is taken from Sri Sai Leela magazine, volume 65, July 1986. Parvatibai's children and Mahadev's faith. With Baba's blessings, the Sapatnekars had 8 sons and 1 daughter. After the unforgettable visit to Shirdi, the very next year, that is 1915, Parvatibai became pregnant and delivered a bonny, healthy baby. The boy was christened Murlidhar, and when he was 8 months old, they took him to Shirdi. When Murlidhar was placed at Baba's feet, Baba picked him and laid him on his lap and cooed and spoke to him. In due course of time, Parvati had 2 more sons named Bhaskar and Dinkar. Both were fortunate to have Baba's darshan. When Dinkar was about 3 months, Parvatibai took him to Shirdi and placed him at Baba's feet. Baba lifted the baby in his hands and threw him in the air with great force. However, nothing untoward happened to Dinkar, and he was caught by the devotees seated there. Dinkar says, because Baba threw me in the air, while I was a child, a transformation occurred and I became very spiritual from a very young age. Parvatibai recalls, after our first son Murlidhar was born, my husband's faith in Sai Baba became firm. In the years to come, it developed stronger, so much so that when our second son Bhaskar died at the age of 10 years, he did not blame Baba. On the other hand, he called all our children together and stood them before Baba's photograph and said, Baba, take away all of them. I shall not mind, as they are all yours. However, I shall not give up my faith in you. Years later, Dinkar said, my father was initially devoted to Lord Datta and used to go on a pilgrimage to Gangapur frequently. A year after the loss of his first son, Mahadev visited Gangapur. In a state of bereavement and anguish, he jumped into the river with the intent of ending his wretched life. And lo, Lord Datta himself pulled him out of the river and asked him to go to Akkalkot. A few years later, Sai Baba drew my father into his flock and made him a staunch devotee. From this story, it is crystal clear that the darshan and blessing of any saint are impossible without good karma and penance of past lives. Possibly Baba wanted to show my father he and Lord Datta are the same. Baba wanted to push my father's original spirituality by removing his disappointment and sorrow of family life. Thus, the Chal Hat drama may have been Baba's secret method for removing all negative energy that enveloped my father's very being. This was Baba's unique method of drawing my father to him and guiding him on his spiritual path. The Sapatnekars originally hailed from a village Sapatne and hence were called Sapatnekars. Later they moved to Madgaon. Practicing law was their family profession, and even to this day it is followed by the members of the family. Mahadev became a well-known pleader at Akkalkot. He was an affluent landowner had his own home and property. In 1961, some of his family members moved to Pune. Parvatibai went to stay at Pune with her son Dinkar as she had a paralytic stroke. She was 88 years old at that time and was not in good health. Parvatibai passed away on 30th of October 1983 at 4 p.m. According to the Hindu calendar, this was the same month that Baba took Maha Samadhi. Also, like Baba, Parvatibai breathed her last after the 10th day had finished and Ekadashi had commenced. At the time of the death, she was conscious till the last moment and left the world peacefully with a smile on her face. This is taken from Sri Sai Leela magazine, volume 65, July 1986. And this concludes the commentary on the chapter. Om Sai Ram.